Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, we have Joe Sharp on, and he talks about going from facility manager to service technician. This episode is brought to you by Viega. As an industry leader, Viega is committed to providing continued support for trades education and is a proud sponsor of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, it's Jason, Rich, myself, and we have a very special guest, Joe Sharp. We met Joe on LinkedIn, and he's got a pretty cool story. He works for Meadowbrook Facilities currently. I'm going to mess it up every time. But he's got a pretty cool story of how he ended up doing it. So welcome to the show, Joe. How are you tonight?
Well, I appreciate it. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. It's, we connected on LinkedIn a while back and go back and forth, and some stuff you do. And he's a loyal watcher or listener to the show. And I messed up last week, didn't have a guest, and he was one of the few people that said he wanted to come on. So we went through the list. We picked Joe, and here's Joe. So welcome to the show, man.
Awesome.
So how's everybody's week been? Anything crazy?
Let's start with you, Jason. What you got going on this week, bro?
Not much. Just unfortunately, I had a passing of a friend employee, and just been wrapping up some of his affairs, the family, and things like that, and just dealing with that. And tomorrow we got a strategic planning for the year for 2024 that we're doing as a company. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be my first one as a manager. And that's about it. Hasn't been too much of a crazy week. Just the weather's been crazy.
Brian came out the gate swinging hard. Brian,
right?
He must have something for you, Joe.
Look, I've got a casted hand. I promise you, it is not a gimp hand. I'm 55, 60 hours a week, man. We're out there rolling. So it's a built-in hammer. This is what we've learned. Hold the.
So it's been a busy week. Still, the story of the industry, understaffed and overworked. I mean, it is what it is. I was inspired by Rich's rant today about site surveys and installs, and I just happened to get a site survey, and I get there, and this place used to be a bar. It was a happening bar, man. It was a little country bar. It had great pizza, decent beer, and it'd been closed for like a year and a half. And they finally started working on it, and it came through. I had to do a site survey there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. So I get there, and there's like containers outside, shipping containers. They're building a big old addition on the side of the building. I open a door, and they've ripped out all the concrete. There's just like a few studded walls in there. And the guy's like, oh, the blueprint's over in the corner. I'm like, no, that's not how this works, dude. I was like, you know what you need? I said, make sure you have the water and electric and, a drain there, and I'll come back in a couple of months when you're ready for this. So that's the extent of mine.
Yeah. My week, nothing special, but like with that rant today. So originally we had the startup and delivery schedule for this past Monday. And last week, a coworker of mine, he's like, Rich, I drove by that place 4 times this week doing other calls. I doubt that place is ready. So I tell my trainee before he loads up the trailer, I'm like, hey, call them, make sure they're going to be ready. So he calls them Friday, hey, we got your install and startup schedule for Monday. Just want to make sure y'all are ready. Yeah, we're ready. Come on down Monday. Monday's perfect, blah, blah, blah. We get there. And granted, this is, a little bit over an hour trip, one way. And we get there, and I mean, there's no parking lot, no nothing, which I'm like, I don't give a crap. We can drive over that. But we get inside, and there is no electrical. Matter of fact, first of all, my trainee got there first. So when I pull up, he comes up to the van heated. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, there's no electrical. There's this, there's that. I'm like, no, yeah, it can't be no electrical. There was no electrical. So we dropped off the equipment. The guy who, I don't know if he's the owner or the manager of the place or whatever, was trying to get us to wait for the electrician, but the electrician was like an hour and 45 minutes away. So we're like, nah, call us when you're ready. So I get a text from him this morning. Hey, we're ready. We got the product there. So you could, test the grill and all that stuff. Okay, cool. I'll be there in about an hour. I get there, and they're wrapping ductwork in the exact area I need to be. I asked the ductwork guys, and they're like, oh, we got at least 2 to 3 hours here. And then as I'm telling that to the guy in charge of the place, he's like, "Oh yeah, we found out yesterday we got to move the hood 10 inches to the left." I'm like, "Bro, you knew yesterday that you got to move the hood, but you still texted me this morning that y'all were ready for this." So
I don't even want to
that
know
was
what
it.
chain this is.
Nah.
Is it a clam grill?
They use one clam grill, one staging grill, and they claim that they don't cut corners on their patties.
Oh yeah, so so my stores of those are now cooked to order. Like
Are they?
yeah. So they cut out a lot of their staging grill. I mean, they still have it when it's really busy, but most of the time they're cooking to order it. Some of my stores. So.
Cool.
But yeah, you have to have product because you got to test that grill. I mean, that's the craziest thing, dude. You're there. The walk-in cooler's not even running. They want you to start the grill up. It's like, how's that going to work?
Yeah, well, they had a store like 30 minutes away, which was the guy's other plan. But when you're done doing the startup, I can drive just 30 minutes away and get the product and bring it back. I'm like, dude, that's an hour. That's an hour of me waiting, bro.
Go ahead and go and get a cooler and put it in the cooler for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, now they got a reach in plugged in, and they got the product waiting and all that good stuff. Now I'm like, all right, I could deal with that, but yeah, call us when the hood's moved.
Yeah, because is that a freestanding hood like in the middle then?
No, it's actually against the wall. It's not a freestanding hood.
So it's only one side system then? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of mine are like they're down the middle, so there's a walkway on both sides. Like one side is their fryers, and the other side's like an ice machine, some other shit. And then like they can actually cook on both sides, but yeah, they don't do it. So
most of the ones that I service, they have that island hood, but they still only have the clamshell grill and the staging grill under it. They got the fryers underneath a different hood.
Yep, the same way. So sweet, Joe. You do anything crazy this week?
No, nothing crazy. I got a new owner who knew my owner, and so he was having some maintenance drama, and they were venting, to each other, and so it was like, well, let me come check your check your location out, and so I just go to the roof, and we'll get into that. I mean, I do things with a different perspective because I'm normally servicing my restaurants. You know what I'm saying? So, I get there, I start just rolling video of, coils that legit haven't been cleaned in 3 years. And the guy's got a maintenance program. He's paying someone to come out every month or two. I put the videos up. You can actually see them. But so I've spent the last couple days there doing stuff for him and reclaiming that roof. And it's funny. I don't know if you're chuckling, right? Like yesterday, I think I posted I run restaurant repairs. That's my YouTube channel. And I've actually done intentionally a decent job keeping Joe Sharp separate from restaurant repairs. And so yesterday when I posted just a little tag in it with you guys, it's funny, Pat's like, I totally didn't know that was you. I'm like, well, mission accomplished, right? I wasn't, other than people who have seen a couple of this on LinkedIn and then a little of that on the video and like, So, but it's funny. I've got that from more than just you, that I purposefully kind of just keep it separate because I don't do restaurant repairs to be out there and be somebody on YouTube. I got kicked off like Christy, following Chris and doing the same thing. I've got apprentices that can't be with me. And then it turned into a really good accountability tool. And so anyway, but yeah, my week's been pretty average, a couple little reach in compressors and playing on the roof, but I'm in North Georgia. So my playing on the roof is 70 degrees and beautiful right now. So sorry, Jason.
I hate all you guys, man. Just
it's raining here.
I'm as close to hell as possible down here.
It's starting to cool off up here. I can feel it in the air. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock and it's still cool out. I mean, it's going to be cold soon. And I'll be hating on you in a month and a half.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you started off as a facilities guy, correct? As a manager?
Yeah. So,
and how you got to where you're at now?
Sure. I knew the director of operations personally for a man who owned 4 Zaxby's. And so that director of operations had handled everything about the whole organization. He was either calling the service guy or he was putting on his overalls and cleaning the fryer. Like he was just that kind of guy. And so as they were expanding, he was like, I think 4 stores is the point where we could support and we really need a facilities guy. So I was just in operations. I came out of the furniture world, actually, in operations and logistics and efficiency and all that stuff. And so we talked, and it was like, well, I don't know anything about restaurants. I don't know anything about equipment, but we can give it a go. And yeah, I mean, just very quickly, we were trying to find out, is this a viable, can I prove my worth in this organization, right? 4 restaurants, fairly small operation. And because I didn't know anything about facility management, truly, right? I wasn't educated in facility management. I'm just that guy who questions everything. And so I got plugged in with some facility managers in that corporate brand and RFMA and a couple other groups where I was, able to tap into, the wisdom of guys with a lot of mileage.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the status quo and going, you sure there's not a better way to do this? And everyone's like, because I'm not trained in this. So I don't want to say poisoned, right? But I haven't been ingrained that this is how you do it. And so people are like, no, that's par for the course. That's how it goes. And my owner, and I'll sing his praises forever, just gave me freedom. And he was like, hey, if you want to do something different, roll with it. And, he gave me the resources and the time and invested in me to pursue, successes and failures. And I learned a lot of ways not to make a light bulb and a lot of things that didn't work. And then I stumbled across some things that, really started to take traction. And then we started looking at the breakdowns of, like, how do you prevent and what's that really look like? But at this point, I'm not EPA certified, right? I'm doing things I probably shouldn't be doing as a facilities guy, right? I mean, we all know how that goes. And then the technician shows up and goes, who's been monkeying with this, right? That was me. Rich really nailed it on this mentorship, right? So I reached out. I needed help with a walk-in, and I met a guy, and he was a one-man show, and we just kind of hit it off. And he was like, if you ever need anything, call me. And so I would call him every day. And I said, look, this isn't, and he would just talk me through the problem and, not schedule a call to come fix it. He would basically fix it over the phone with me being his hands. And I was like, this isn't fair. I should be calling you to pay you, not do this. And he said, here's the deal. I'm busy enough. I don't need that. You never call me for anything I've taught you before, and we can do this forever. And I think that was 6 years ago. And so having a mentor like that now lets you get into things you really shouldn't be doing. So I could get myself in a pickle where I've wired the defrost clock wrong, and now everything's tripping and it won't run, and it's like, come save me. And so he would rush out and save me. And it was like, but he couldn't do all the things. And so I'd meet other technicians, and they would come out, and I knew enough to know BS when I saw it. Right. And so guys would come out, and this was just the story that started it all, right? Your typical green technician is out, and he just comes out, he's got his earbud on, and he's talking to the OG at the office who knows what's going on, but he knows nothing. And that guy's like, what panel do I take off? Oh, the left one. Hang on. Okay. What wire do I touch? This one. Oh, it says 12. What does that mean? Oh, what is that? And I'm like, and I found myself for years going, I could do that. Why am I paying $100 an hour for this? I could do that. Yeah. And then it came to like, put your money where your mouth is. Can you really? Are you willing to do what it takes to be, legally and able to do that? And so we just said, you can't be a little bit pregnant. Either we're doing this or we're not. And EPA certification, different manufacturers, certifications. I'm not classically trained. I didn't go to trade school. I didn't graduate college. I got out and started working, got in operations, did this. And now through this journey, we've actually invested, my owner has invested in my growth and my education. And, I just do my part. I said when I started that common sense in YouTube is going to be the death of the tradesman. Right now, I think that's true. But the reason it's not a crisis is common sense isn't out there. So more people aren't running, killing tradesmen because they don't have common sense to apply to this knowledge that's out here online. And so I just devoured parts manuals. I just watched everything I could to figure out what was going on. I loved the shout out you put this morning about tech support, right? I mean, I have no problem calling, pick your Frymaster, Pitco, whoever it is, and go, look, I understand most of the system, but I don't know what I don't know. And I'm happy to turn to the guy who does and who has all the resources and can streamline this for me, help me out. And I just found when you go to those guys sincerely and say, this is what I've done. And because I'm sure they get the calls that somebody is like, what's not working? What do I do? Well, where do you start with that? Right. So you call and be intelligent and say, this is what I've done. This is what I've tested. This is what I've come across. What am I missing? And I've never had somebody who wasn't awesome on the other end of the phone to help me out and get me to the problem. So, squirrel, but we did that. And then we actually got into the Dairy Queen side of things. And so then we started opening Dairy Queens. And Dairy Queen's a different beast because you've got soft serves, you've got chain broilers. That's all new. And in my specific area, there was one factory authorized service company for the soft serves we had. And you know how well that works out. So we just had problem after problem from the weekend we opened. Sorry, Dairy Queen, no ice cream, and it was a nightmare for months and months and months. We got the manufacturer involved. And at this point I was EPA certified, but I wasn't certified in their brand. So I couldn't touch it under warranty. And it just eventually got so ugly that as the facility manager, I reached out to the manufacturer and said, they're not allowed in my building anymore. Right. So that service company is not allowed in my Zaxby's. Now, what do we do? And they're like, well, they're the only ones. I'm like, well, then you tell me what we do. And since I was EPA certified, they're like, get your, you come up here, get your factory authorization. And now there are 2 service companies in this area who handle that brand of soft serve. And all I had to do was print a card with that manufacturer's name on it. And, Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen, just like, oh yeah, we need somebody. So that's kind of the journey that's got me here. And then after we got those certifications and started going, we could do this for other people, right? I've got a truck full of, I deal with 2 brands, really. I deal with Zaxby's, Dairy Queen. How blessed am I? The equipment's all the same. I can keep every part I need. Like I know what I'm walking into. And so we're like, well, why don't we do this for other owners? And so then we had to pursue what that looks like, legally and how to navigate that, and got through what we needed to. And it's like, okay, we're open for business. And I have never, in spite of saying all I have to do is print a card, like I've never gone looking for business because till very recently I was a one-man show. So I can't grow irresponsibly and be like, I have 80 Dairy Queens who want me to serve them. Yeah. And I'm 4 days out at least. I don't want to be that guy. So we've brought on apprentices, we're growing, and we're just word of mouth, owners talking to owners, and here we are.
I like that.
Nice.
So I would say that in regards to 2 things, when you said you call your guy and you always come with a new problem. So I always tell a lot of people, it's like, if you're going to bother someone, make sure that you went through all the steps you possibly could. And if they helped you before, make sure you're not calling about that same thing. And the same thing with tech support. When I call them, I always try to remember what they taught me last time if I come back on it. And I want to make sure that I show them the courtesy, respect to their time, that I've come with all the steps before I get around to asking them for the same stuff. The whole, did you even take your meter out? What's the pressures? That's amateur hour right there, and it pisses them off. But no, it's cool that people, they're receptive, that you're calling, you're learning, and anybody with a heart would want to do that, would want to pour into somebody like that.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Talking stuff over here. Yeah, so my whole thing about that tech support thing was like, when guys call, they don't want to call. But when they call, they're just so down on themselves. They take themselves out of the call at that point. Don't be that way. I mean, we all have to call tech support at some point in time. Just come to information that you have and understand that, you don't know everything. You're not going to know everything. But there's guys out there that are going to help you. But when you call and you're just so defeated and down on yourself, it doesn't help out. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. I mean, because, you know how it is. You get down on yourself, you get an attitude, you get short, you get snippy, and it all kind of adds up. So that's where I was going with that post yesterday.
See, my thing when it comes to tech support, I always try to tell people, if you don't have at least an idea of, where you're headed with this problem within about 20, maybe 30 minutes, then go ahead and call tech support. Yeah. But with that, I did tech support for a few months period for a small ice machine company. And there's a ton of people that don't take any steps. They call and literally they want me to walk them through, exactly what to check, like how to use their meter, how to do this, like basic stuff. And I was like, dude, call your service manager. Like, what do you mean you're working on an ice machine, but you don't know how to use a meter? Like, nah, bro, it doesn't work like that. When I first started, what I would do is I would go through the service manuals and try to follow whatever tree they had or whatever steps they had. And then at least by the time I call tech support, I'm like, hey, I did this and this, I did this and that. I think I'm missing something. And even when I didn't really know what I was doing, they'd usually be like, no, man, you sound like you know what you're doing. You just missed one little step. It's this and this. I would check it. Oh, great. Yeah, okay, cool. That was it. And it worked out. But dude, the amount of people that call tech support and don't even try. And I mean, I've had guys want me to sit there and tell them. One guy in particular was like, I helped him figure out that his neutral line broke somewhere. Okay, well, where's it broken at? I'm like, bro, that's literally your job. Like, I can't tell you that over the phone. And I got 4 other calls to answer. So bye.
Where's it broken at? Between the wall.
Grab your bag, unzip it.
I said somewhere between the wall and the water valve.
Oh my gosh.
Pat, to add to the whole technical support thing, because I've had to explain to a lot of newer techs, that why tech support's even there, because, aside from companies that have their own service technicians, and we won't name those 2 that we all need help from, but don't want to help us anyways. It's in the, they offer the free tech support because it's their brand. Mm-hmm. So there's only so many pieces of equipment. You walk into a burger joint, they have a T or they have a GAR, so it's one or the other. So when a piece of equipment's down all the time and they can't get help, well, if you own the place, you're not going to want to recommend that to another business partner. It's their brand. So it behooves them to have free service technicians to answer the phone. And people don't understand that they're there for a reason. It's to make sure their equipment's up and running so that their brand is good, so they can sell more, because with a crappy reputation, no one's going to want to buy their stuff, and that stuff gets around. So I always explain to people, aside from being nervous and not wanting to call, it's a free service. I literally taught myself the first 3 years from calling tech support, because they were a lot friendlier than some of the old heads that we had working, that been there for 30 years at my company that are grumpy. So, it's there. It's a free resource. Use it, get over yourself.
With that, to piggyback on what you just said, to any old heads out there, stop being pricks. Okay. we don't want, we sit here and say, we got no new people coming in. We got no people, the trade is dying. But then, a lot of y'all out there, when somebody new does come in and maybe they're not mechanical at all and they need to learn from scratch, then you treat them like garbage. Yeah. And then 3 weeks later, when they quit because you made their life miserable, these young people don't want to work. We can't get people to replace us. Well, maybe, a lot of the old heads in this industry are half of the problem.
Or at least 2/3.
I mean,
I dealt with it everywhere, but then we do have some old heads, that are just great, great with people. They want to help, but it's with this shortage of technicians and all this work, we're all just trying to keep our heads above water. We need everybody, even the warm bodies. So I always recommend, let's just, who they are first off, so let's either create a good training program. Who's happy and who wants to teach. Keep them away from those who don't, because they really, those are the same ones that say, forget what you learned in school. You're in the real world now. You don't need to pull a vac. You don't need to recover. You can purge. You don't need to change the filter. All that stuff. Chain smoking up on the roof. Just saying.
You're about to get me started on that. You don't need a vac thing, but we're gonna let that go.
Rich, I was just trying to imagine you being tech support. Like, what kind of bedside manner do you?
No, bro. The funny thing is, believe it or not, when it's somebody who's legit trying to learn, I'm super patient and I can be calm and hold myself. But when people don't try or they're lazy, then this is the me that they get. Yeah.
But I told you once, I'm not telling you again.
Get off the phone. That guy's mean to me.
So I'm in a unique situation. My son's one of my apprentices. And everybody, my dispatchers, all the time, she's like, you treat him better than you treat everybody else. I'm like, no, I'm like, he's the only one. He calls me and asks me questions. I'm like, it's like he's probably got it worse than anybody else. He calls because he knows me, but I said I will call him dumb in a heartbeat. I was like, dude, I just told you how to do this. You're screwing this up. I give him a hard time because I expect more out of him. He understands it. I mean, he's been dealing with me for 21 years almost, so he knows how I am. So, but I just tell him, hey, no, he's the only one who actually call me on a regular basis. I will help anybody out. I will drop what I'm doing. I'll finish up a job. I will go save someone's ass. I'll do it for anybody. He's just the only one that happens to call me regularly, so they just think I do it more for him. But in reality, he's just the only one that doesn't have to call me all the time.
Here, he call you and ask you what's for dinner?
No, he just comes over and raids my fridge, man. He steals food out of the freezer from my
It's
barn.
not stealing when it's your son.
So you said you work for an owner that has 4 Zaxby's and 4 Dairy Queens, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then how many other stores do you work for outside of your little group?
About 40. I mean, I have about 40 different locations that I serve. Serve is an interesting word, though, because, again, my approach is different. And this is the red pill, blue pill thing, right? Like, here's where you're going to get me started. As a service guy whose only job was to prevent breakdowns for my owner, I have a different agenda than all those service guys on the chat and you, right? I just do, right? My goal was to not spend dollars, make the business not spend dollars. And I'm not going to accuse like nefarious, stuff from technicians, but, like I explained to everyone who will listen, it's impossible for your service technician to have your best interest in mind. It's not congruent. They cannot play.
It's not
because you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that because like I proved it. So internally, one, I live in the middle of nowhere by choice. So I drive a long way to work because I like cows, not people. So I'm out here. And so when there's an emergency, I got, it's very unfortunate for everyone because I can't be there for an hour and it's just unfortunate for everyone. So, I wanted to reduce the breakdowns. So we played with a whole bunch of different programs and I got a good CMMS program to track equipment, track breakdowns, track the details, right? I'm a data junkie. And so a year and a half goes by and we go real numbers. I'm going to pull fryers out of the mix because fryers are a different thing. Every Zaxby's has 6 fryers, right? Mm-hmm. So you're adding a whole bunch of a mess. But pull fryers out of the mix, greater than half of every service call we had, contactor or capacitor, right? We see it all day, every day. 50% of it won't start. It's not working. The AC's down, the freezer's down, contactor or capacitor, right? I mean, simple mechanical breakable parts. Okay, so here's the radical guy. How about we change every contactor and capacitor every year? And it's like, what's that going to cost? And we know what that costs if you're not buying it, full bill. And you're like, and I'm already on staff, so let's just do it. And you get exactly what numerically you think you get, half the breakdowns, which not only saves you money, but it saves you the crisis, right? It saves you the dining room's 80 degrees, the kitchen's 90 degrees. Oh my gosh. Oh no, call Joe, right? That was this. Oh no, call Joe. This isn't broke. This is broken. That's broken. So we just reduced it. And so I said, okay, when the weather's nice in April and October, I'm going to spend all day on your roof one day. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure your coils are, pre-winter, pre-summer. So pre-summer check, we're checking everything. We're changing capacitors, we're changing contactors. If those tips, let that tip get a little bit gone. Let's just replace it, right? It's cheap. Don't eat a breakdown. And so that's what we did. And it was amazingly effective. And so I was like, what a great system. This is brilliant. Let's go outside and start doing it. I get 2 good days work a year. And then what, right? I just reduced my calls by 50% at every location. If I reduce their calls by 50%, how are you funding your service company? And so like, well, why should I be at odds with what I know is right and serves an owner well and what the service company needs to stay in business? Because I love my owners, but if I can't pay my bills, I'm going to disappear. right? And then they're back to everyone else anyway. So how do we make it win-win for everyone? And I don't have that answer other than, I try to be really honest with my owners and say, here's what I'm going to try to do for you, right? We all know stuff's still going to break down, right? I mean, we took amazing care of our equipment, and I blew out a compressor on a Carrier 6-ton under warranty in like 2.5 years, just short to ground, done, right? Like those things can happen. So it's not that I don't have work to do in general, but the low hanging fruit, get rid of it, and what's left, and that's where I'm truly at, is that I'm trying to invest in my owners, not my personal owner, but all the owners I serve in that way. I use belts as another great numerical argument, right? Zaxby's has 4 6-ton Carrier units on the roof. Okay. So, belts, whatever, AX41, right? You'll change it every year. You change it every single year. $10 more, I put a Kevlar belt on that roof. That lasts 5. Okay, so I just reduced 4 service calls across 4 air conditioners, across 4 restaurants to make an extra $10 on that belt. So it's like, what are you going to do as a service guy? What are you going to put on your building? You're going to put a Kevlar belt on. What do you want to sell to everyone else under the status quo? Well, I just want to sell a disposable belt, right? And every year we'll come out and we'll change their belts. And so that's the headspace that I'm stuck in. How do we solve this? And it's funny, in your promo, it was great because that's the quote I sent you, right? As a facility manager, I was cussing service companies, technicians who didn't know what they were doing, right? They would show up and the fryer's not working. Oh man, we need an ignition module. Oh, I don't have one. Well, we'll be back in 2 days. Put the ignition module in. Oh, it wasn't that. Oh, we need a gas valve. Okay, hang on. Oh no, we need a pilot assembly. I'm like, the guy's just throwing parts at it. He doesn't know what he's doing. Stop sending a parts changer. And now I'm the service guy who tries real hard to not be that parts changer, but who comes across owners who, if you don't see the value in my perspective, I'm good with that, right? I'm great with that. No problem. If you're happy with your peeps, stay on it, right? But there's owners who want the best of my program without anything else, right? I will drop and come if you've got it's just the way, it's the world we all live in, right? But I try, because I'm a one-man show and I'm fairly localized, I can really kind of go over the top with that. I can be there when you need me. And there's people who don't want anything to do with the things we do until they need me. And then they want the best of the program without the rest of the program. And so then you find yourself like, cussing owners going, well, this guy doesn't want to do anything to protect his equipment. He literally hasn't had a service call in 2 years. Nobody's cleaning his coils. Nobody's doing anything. And then, it's my emergency when he blows a compressor and he needs it, up and running. And so that's the bridge I don't think I'm going to gap. But because I'm always word of mouth to the next owner, I get to cheat a little. You know what I'm saying? Like, the owners who started by letting me come in their doors the first time were able to come to my restaurant and see what we had. They came to see the monitoring systems I put in place. They could see the prevention schedules I had in place and what we did. Because it's hard to explain to an owner, right? Pick an easy number and say, well, what if you paid $200 a month for me to do X, Y, Z, right? So, you're going to spend that $2,400 this year. If you don't spend it, overall, are you going to spend more or less on breakdowns? Right? That's the facility manager's conundrum. Well, I don't know. What's the right number? And my maintenance theater, is like this thing I've coined a while ago, because all I see out here, is maintenance theater in my area. It's, hey, pay me $200 a month and I'll do all this stuff. And again, I went on that roof and nothing has been done. Nothing. And so, like, if you don't want to, you don't have to sell them that service. Just charge them when the stuff breaks down and come fix it. But if you're going to sell them a service, make it a worthwhile service instead of pretending you're going to improve breakdowns when you don't. And since owners don't ever see a return for that investment, the byproduct we all get is they go, I'm not interested. I don't want any snake oil program. I don't want any maintenance program. You're not going to do anything for me, right? It's not worth it. I spent $6,000 and then I still ended up spending another 10 on repairs. So, like, we've scared away the owners to where, like, they don't trust the system. And how do we fix that? Like, I really need people to understand, like, I want to bring hope back. I said that in an interview, right? Like, my idea is Dairy Queen is like super nostalgic, right? It's all nostalgia. And most of the Dairy Queen operators in my area are like OGs. They've owned them for 30 or 40 years, right? These guys are 70 years old, and they've spent the last dozen years in this service cycle with, I love you guys, right? But like, you can hear me spouting it, right? It's some of the things that stood out about what I saw in you guys. For a decade, they've been stuck with the service system we've got. And so they don't have hope that it's getting better, and they're ready to sell. And the amount of owners here who are like, I'm done, right? Between the labor and the costs of repair and everything, I'm out. So to be able to walk in and shake hands with somebody and kind of connect and make them believe, not in fake, not in a trick, but get them to understand, I care about you. Like, I want to be a partner, not a parasite to you. So, yes, there is a conflict, and I'm open with them about it. Do I want to sell you a $700 computer board that I mark up X%, or do I want to sell you a $70 digital controller that'll do the same thing? Like, which one do I want? Which one benefits me better? Which one benefits you better? So that's the rambling of my soapbox and just all the things I'm dealing with, and why I love to bring it to you guys who have, you've lived it, so much more, add to my perspective to kind of clear some things up for me.
Yeah. So I think the PM thing, we've had this conversation before, is the guys doing the PMs generally aren't the guys that are going to take the time and do it, right? It seems like. Now, Jason's in a little different position where he's actually at a true PM department, but most of your service companies don't have a true PM department. It's the green guy doesn't know what he's doing. They send him out there and they show him how to do it one time, and he's not really trained properly on how to do it. And he either he doesn't understand what he's doing, or he doesn't care to know what he's doing. And unfortunately, that's the guys that end up doing the PMs. And you're going behind guys like that, and coils aren't clean, or belts aren't adjusted. It may have a brand new belt on there, but it's got 4 inches of slap and it's not moving in the air because the guy didn't know that, oh, this is the wrong size belt, or someone put a shorter belt on it and adjusted it, and now he's got to adjust it back to the way. He doesn't understand that. And it's unfortunate that a lot of these companies do this because it gives them a black eye, just like you said. It's like, this is shit work, and it gives the company a black eye. And it's not, it's a lot of people's fault, but I don't think it's just one person's fault. You know what I mean?
My thing is, I like, most of what you said, except what you said in the beginning. You said, yeah, technician can't look out for the customer's, best interest. I have to totally disagree with that. And I just kind of want to throw that out there. I approach every service call that I do with the attitude of, I don't have to come back. I don't want to have to come back to your fryer 4 times. If I can put something on it and it's not going to go down for 3 years, I'm going to put that part on it. And I'm going to tell you, look, this part is $200 more, or this is why we should do this part and this part together. Because if we don't do both of these parts together, then I'm probably going to be back in 2 or 3 months, and you have a whole service call on top of that versus just the cost of the part and an extra 20 minutes. And with that, at our company, we're not judged on our sales. That's not a metric, but I happen to see the sales number, and I'm in the top 3 in the company in sales. The guy who's number 1, he does a fair amount more bigger jobs than I do. The guy that was number 2, he is known for just throwing random parts on stuff till he gets it working. Like, he put $3,500 worth of parts on a clamshell grill because he didn't want to pull it off the back wall and check the limit switch for the actuator. And after he put $3,500 of parts on it and somebody went and checked that switch, that was the actual problem. Mm-hmm. So if you take him out of the equation, I'm in the top 2 in sales, and my whole goal is to not have to come back. We got an account that they every 6 months, they have to change the valves on their char broilers. They just use them so much. They got so much heat, they wear out. And it's usually 1 or 2 that go bad, maybe 3. And I'll come through and I'll change, I think it's 8 that are on the unit. I'll change all 8 of them. And I'll tell her, look, I change them all 8 now, and you're not calling me back in 3 months because I did half now and then got to do the other half when they go out. So I approach everything like that. And I still do a crap ton of business for the customer and my reputation. anywhere I go is intact. So like I said, I want to throw that out there. Aside from that, I mean, I agree with everything else you were saying.
No, and I definitely circle around and agree with your point exactly. And it's not, if I did say it this way, here's probably the more accurate word. A service company, generally speaking, just cannot be in alignment with an owner's best interest. A service technician can, right? Absolutely. And I think it's not in spite of that. It's because of it that you're so successful, right? That you hit that top of your metric. Mm-hmm. Even going against the system that I say everybody plays to get to the top, right? It's not in spite of it. It's because that's what, again, stands out about, the Rich Ortega that I saw his posts online before I knew any of you. And I was like, that dude seems like he's a good dude taking care of his customers, right? Like that was my initial focus of you. And so, yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying 100%. And again, I'm not trying to slam, like drop a hammer on the whole, everything, right? There's great techs. There's, I meet nothing. My YouTube channel, right, is I talk to the same 60 dudes every video I post. They're amazing, right?
Hey, you got better views than me.
Well, again, it's all them, not me, man. That's because I'm more of a crap show, right? People aren't interested in seeing. They know when you do it, nothing exciting is going to happen because everything's going to be good. Like, hey, he might rip his thumb off. He's going to blow up a flat top. Yeah, who knows what's going on with him? But, what surprised me, about the technicians and the YouTube is that I literally have never had a negative encounter on YouTube that wasn't immediately diffused. I've had a few comments, right, where somebody's like, well, why wouldn't you do X, Y, Z? You're such a hack. And when I just go, man, I appreciate it. I didn't think of that. Or that wasn't on my checklist of things I would have even thought of. I'm going to put that in the quiver for next time. And then all of a sudden the demeanor changes and they're like, oh yeah, glad to help. And these are some of the same people now that I talk with on every video. And I learn way more. I don't do YouTube to teach, right? I thought I was doing YouTube to teach. No, I do YouTube to learn because I run into a walk-in cooler with some controller I've never seen, which apparently is pretty common, but not in my area because everyone's like, oh, dude, that's an A421. You don't know what you're doing? I'm like, nah, I don't know that one. But I mean, they're all good technicians, right? So I'm not throwing shade that this is a list of 60 dudes who are just snakes. No. But when it comes to, partner or parasite, let's call that a scale, right? None of us are on one full end or the other.
Yeah.
We're all living somewhere in the middle. And so how do you balance it that the relationship is good, that the restaurant faction isn't just cussing the service guy and the service guy isn't just cussing the owner, and they come to a place where they realize they need each other, but in a healthy way, right? How do you spin that cycle in a way that the relationship is good instead of when you leave, they're both angry? Like, that happens all the time. Hey, yeah, okay, you're all good. Everybody's smiling and handshakes. And then he goes and calls the owner and he's cussing how dumb we are. And we're calling our owner cussing how they didn't take care of anything. Like, can we just stop? If we're grown-ups, then we can sort it, right? We can get through it and be like, look, you should have done this. If you think I'm out of whack on this, let's talk about it. But it's just, I don't know, man. The system from the facility guy, the system was broken. And full disclosure, there was a reason 8 years ago I started a career again in the furniture world or in the restaurant world, right? I've always thought I knew better than the system I was living in, right? And that's been a painful thing in life, to think you knew better than the system you were living in. And I got a lot wiser every time it bit me in the butt. And then when I got here, I still felt like I knew better than the system I was living in, being the facility guy. And, I didn't think I would change the world and become a service tech and rainbows and butterflies and all of a sudden everybody's good. But what I have committed to do is to change the world of the owners I serve. I can't change anybody else, but the 16 or 18 different owners that I touch base with, I want them to have hope that the people we're training are going to keep on. So when their kids take over, there's somebody to do it. And it's not like, oh, here we go with the whatevers again. So
Jason's writing stuff down furiously, so we better let him speak.
Well, you guys have already passed on the things I've been writing on, but no, Rich is right in regards to, Joe, yeah, I got what you were saying, Joe, when you said companies, it's not natural for them to want to put the customer, the best interest, because they have, as the bigger they get, there's more overhead and things of that nature. Now, if the company had Rich's name on it, I could imagine that down to the standards are going to be there for you guys and whatnot. But no, I that's Rich's special.
It's hard.
But anyways,
it's hard.
What kind of special?
We work for two different entities. So, Joe works for an owner. Primarily he started off with an owner group. So he's taking care of that owner group, and they branch out to more. But, we're working for a service company, and it's like the service company's looking out for their bottom end, their bottom line. Joe's company is looking out for their bottom line, and it's a battle. And I don't know how we get away from the battle, but I mean, it's always going to be something there. But we just got to rely on the techs to do the right thing for the customer.
I'll tell you how you do it. It's technology and transparency. Now, I don't know how big Joe's market is and whatnot, and he said that there's several owners that have been in the business for generations and whatnot, and they might be used to a certain system, and they have maybe a lack of options in the geography or the area that they're working in. But if you are introducing good technology that has transparency, I run a PM department, and I've heard the same things Joe have said about people, techs not doing what they're supposed to do. We have the same $250, $300 something contracts, but we provide pictures and a checklist for before, during, and after. And it's something that I've implemented, and we give those to the customer. So we date the belts, we date the filters, we take a picture of the ones we pulled out, we take a picture of the one we put in. So we show full transparency. We don't want them to feel like, this is a get us in the door, find an issue, and then send a service tech in there. Yeah, a lot of our guys aren't, they're new. They're green out of the field. It's a controlled environment for training and whatnot, and they're just checking certain things and keeping things clean and things like that. But we take the onus of making sure that there's a lot of transparency so the customers trust us. I can't say that's everywhere, because the previous company I worked for before didn't do that. And there was a lot of skepticism and a lot of negativity because there was nothing to show for what they were paying for, so that's the whole snake oil mentality. But I say, you're paying me, I'm going to provide the proof that this is what I'm doing, readings and things of that nature. And, it all comes down to technology. I don't know. You said you like numbers and you got yourself a pretty cool program. I would hold the service companies to a standard. If you want our business, I want to see photos. I want to see coherent notes that tell a story. It's a standard. The day I get into facilities, oh Lord, it's coming. I'm going to change the game. So
that's a value adder, though. I mean, showing what you guys done, that adds value, that adds a level of trust.
Yeah, and it's about life cycle data information that you're collecting also.
Yeah. The YouTube thing, again, that's why I continued doing it. I had no interest in being a YouTube person, right? I specifically have separated Joe the person from Restaurant Repairs, the channel, for a reason. I'm not interested. But as the facility guy, like you said, Jason, so, guy goes up to the roof, comes down and says, yeah, you needed a new transformer. I replaced it. Here's your bill. See ya. Really? Did you? Who's to say? Why would he lie? That's not the case. But isn't it nice that when I show up and I say, hey, look, here's a smoked contactor, look at this, and I shoot, I have just as many unposted videos as I have posted videos, because the videos I post, I'm allowed to, right? Every brand doesn't want their stuff shown. There's certain restaurants who are just so nasty you wouldn't put them on, right? And it's like, but those videos are still available to the owners. Right. Yeah. So they get the links. We actually have a work order program. And like Jason said, that's the golden part of it, is that it's lifetime data. They can show the medical chart of the piece of equipment, and then in it is the invoice and the link to the YouTube video. And it's like, wow, that's accountability. But that's not what the industry as a whole really wants out here. Right. Just go. I tell owners, go next time there's a service guy in your building, just go stand next to him while he works. Just stand there with him for 15 minutes. He's not doing anything wrong, but he don't like you there, right? And so, I'm going to shoot a video and send it to you, right? I want you to see what I'm doing. And that's the weirdness of the dream. How do we make something? I was the facility guy who made a list of everything I hated and said, we're not going to do these things. That gets real hard, right? It gets real hard, not from an integrity perspective, from an operational efficiency perspective, restaurants aren't banks. Why are service companies 9 to 5? You know what I mean? That was in my crawl. Like, well, I run a business that's open on the weekend until 10 o'clock at night. And you're telling me that, this is an overtime call. Well, I understand the logistics of overtime and legalities. But if you wanted to solve that problem, you could actually have a rotating schedule where people's built-in time doesn't put them in overtime to be working on the weekends. You got people working Monday through Friday, whether they have calls every hour of that day or not, right? So schedule them Tuesday through Saturday. And so that's what we do. Like, I don't charge overtime rates. I don't do Saturday service calls. I just do service calls, right? And I'm losing out on a lot of revenue, right? Owners understand on Saturday when their cooler's broken, they're going to have to pay more for that because they've been programmed to understand that. Is there a better way? Like, yes, my company's paying the price for it. The company I operate, it's not my company, it's the company I'm blessed to operate, on behalf of my owner. But, it's a living experiment, right? And it started out with the best of intentions and then got ugly and said, yeah, this doesn't work. You can't be so pro customer, you run yourself out of business. Right. But how do you hold your integrity, be just to your employees and just to your operators while being able to turn a profit? And it's like, that's where I need people much smarter than me. So I came to you.
I think even on this topic, it's transparency. I mean, and it's about relationships. At the end of the day, I would almost rather than call the big company, call the local company and maybe pay a little bit more because I'm putting money in a local pocket. But at the end of the day, you have to collect the money you need to keep your vans on the road, the fuel in the vehicle, your lights on, pay for your programs, pay for your insurance, you have to pay for all that stuff. So I think geographically, you said that you had to go and become a factory authorized service technician because that other company was the only one there. So when people don't have competition, they don't have to raise their standards. When there's more competition in an area, now it's like, I'll provide photos, or I will do this, or I will do that. It's healthy competition, but people get away with not having to do anything if there is no competition. You changed it up by getting factory authorized, and you said, screw those other people. They're going to treat us like this. We can do it better. Now maybe another company will come in eventually, depending on if there's more business in the geography. And you're going to want to try to do something to keep that business and one up them, so it's has a lot to do with how many people are in the area and what the incentive is for these companies to behave better and to provide better customer service. I'm not saying it's right or more or this and that, just people are going to go for the path of least resistance. And if it's easier because of the status quo and I only have to do this, they're going to continue to do that. You stepped in and made them put up or shut up, and you took the business, and now you're going to continue to operate in a way that you're being upfront and transparent and showing good customer service, and that your customers are going to want to stay with you, provided that somebody else doesn't come in and upstage you, Right. But as long as you're doing everything right morally and you can sleep at night and you put in a good day's work, you're going to keep that business, in my opinion.
Yep. I want to touch on two things. One, in the comments there, WSW Refrigeration makes a good point. If you don't charge overtime fee, then they'll call you on the weekend for nonsense that can wait, which, as long as I've been in the industry, I've always heard that's one of the main reasons for overtime rates, because they will call you at 10:30 because one of their 16 fryers is down and they close in an hour and a half, but they still want you out there. Mm-hmm. But with all of that, so I was talking with somebody that I know that owns a service company actually in South Florida a couple months ago, and he was charging way too low. And he was like, well, I want to bring my rates up, but I'm not, sure. And I just went through with him and I'm like, dude, look, you're good at what you do. You're honest. You show up when you say you're going to show up. You know, you take responsibility. If you mess something up, you cover it out of your pocket. You don't charge the customer. You got a lot of integrity. I went through all of these things with him, and I'm like, dude, the peace of mind that the customer has from you doing service is worth a premium. So I believe when you do, like Jason was saying, you know, honesty and transparency and communication, that alone allows you to charge more, because you know what, you might, and I'm talking, this dude raised his rates like 50% from a few months ago to now. And his business, not only is he getting better clientele, he's making a whole lot more money. But when you do that, when you're like, look, I show up on time, I do the best work I can, I take responsibility, you know, yeah, you want to come watch me work. Not only can you watch me work, but I'll explain to you what I'm doing while I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, which is a big thing for me. Because when I started, a lot of technicians hated customers watching them. And then the customer would come watch me and I'd be like, bro, let me tell you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I walk them through all that. When you do stuff like that, you can charge more. And that's where the increase in revenue comes from, because you might be $25, $30 more an hour, but they can trust you. They know you're putting on that better belt. They know that you're changing the contactor, and you're going to change, you know, the element and both contactors that run with the element, and you're going to save them a return visit. When they know stuff like that, you'll be able to make that extra money.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through that metamorphosis. I want to tap too, because I wanted to talk about what you said about the overtime thing. Those are all absolutely correct comments, and you're also right. This goes back to the relationship of the restaurant to the service company, understanding how things work. So what I mean by that is they know, oh my gosh, Joe, I mean, real story. Joe's at a wedding on Saturday at 8 p.m. and it's like my walk-in freezer or my walk-in cooler is 44 degrees. Man, I'm not going to get there till 10:30, but I'll get there. Okay. Right. That's an emergency that those people know I got them. They also know when their little reach-in cooler isn't working on Saturday, they go text him and tell him, we'll move it to the other reach in, right? So you're right. People will blow you up for stupid stuff. I'm blessed that I'm like very personally related to every store we go to, that they want that healthy respect is spinning, right? They don't want to bother me on the weekend. So unless it's an emergency, they won't. Now we're building our staff, but like I said, let's go to, well, you know, they're going to call you on Saturday for some nonsense. Well, I got a guy working Saturday anyway. I mean, what's the difference between my Tuesday reach-in call and my Saturday reach-in call? If it's when my dude is scheduled and he's ready to answer it, I'll take it Saturday. I'll take it Tuesday. It doesn't matter to me. That's his schedule. Yeah. So instead of just taking, well, I got 8 service techs, right? Here's typical here in I'm in North Georgia. I mean, I'm right outside the Atlanta striking area. So we have 12 service techs in our company, and every one of them works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. What? I mean, well, okay, I get it. You can keep your nonsense calls down, but you could take half of them. You could take a third of them and make them Tuesday through Saturday. You could take another third and make them Wednesday through Sunday, and you have 7-day-a-week coverage all the time. And you could probably say, instead of charging $120 an hour, now I'm going to charge $140, but we got you 7 days a week, never an upcharge. Like, just kind of radical thoughts that most of them fizzle out when I try to execute, but we're going to keep trying, right? We're going to keep trying to please both ends, to make the service company successful and serve owners well.
So I guess
Joe,
that's market specific then, I guess, because
yeah,
like in our market, we've got, you know, I don't even know how many technicians we've got right now, probably, I don't know, 15, 16 service techs plus our PM crew. But for the most part, we're all running calls from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. or later. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to take, you know, half or third, even a quarter of our guys and say, hey, y'all are going to run a night shift, or y'all are going to run, you know, Tuesday through whatever, you know, split the week, right, basically, like you were saying. So yeah, that would be, I guess, a market specific thing. And then as it is here now, because my boss actually wanted to implement something like that, but we just can't get enough people to actually make it happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get the guys to buy into, you know, okay, you're going to work Wednesday through Monday, or Wednesday through Sunday, you'll have Monday, Tuesday off. To get the guys to buy into that's going to be the hard thing. I mean, you pretty much have to do a rotating schedule through and make it fair to everybody. But you'll just have a lot of pushback from the guys that, you know, they've been in the trade a while and they know, hey, it's Monday through Friday, weekends on call. I mean, I get it. I like the idea, but to actually implement it will be the actual hard part.
Yeah, but it's funny. You realize what you hit it. The pushback is the status quo. But
Yeah.
that's not the way it is. And remember, I started out by going, I want to question everything. So I'm going to take your status quo and throw it out. So you're 100% right. Technicians who are like, why would I have to work one weekend a month. That's the deal, right? And the rest of the time I'm off. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. And, again, I'm not going to revamp the whole service world. I'm just going to revamp my neighborhood of it.
Yeah.
So Joe, so you're saying you have 12 techs?
No. I was saying as a service company, kind of like the company Rich was just saying, right? So no, I don't. I have 2 full-time techs. I have 3 part-time techs, right? And so I'm previous to 3 months ago, I was a one-man show with a bunch of part-time guys handling the inside. But if you're running a 12 tech, to Rich's scenario, if I'm running a 15 technicians and they're all running 40 hours a week, if you're busy, my system actually works better than if you're not. Because if you're busy, technician number 4 is working 40 hours. Now you got to convince him that he's okay making his schedule work, but his 40 hours are 40 hours, whether they're Monday through Friday or Wednesday through Sunday, they were still all booked. And you're so busy, you can do that. You can tell your customers, the call came in on Thursday, we'll be there Saturday. The call came in on Friday, we'll be there Sunday. We're always 2 days out, no problem, no matter what day it is. Never an overtime call, right? And there's a lot about that doesn't work, but I posted a LinkedIn thing when I was running a late night call, and I said, I hated this as a service company, or I hated this as a facility manager. I'm not a bank. Why is the service company? If you wanted to solve this problem, you could. We did. In our market, I'm not running, but I also went through the metamorphosis Rich said, where I wanted to be the cheapest tech in town. When we rolled out, it's like, man, look, my truck is paid for. My parts are already paid for. My salary is paid for by my stores. So if I step out for a couple owners and moonlight a couple grand, that just offsets some of my salary, right? That's just money there's someone else is paying. And so it's like, we don't have to charge a whole lot. And then I realized exactly what Rich said is right. We show up when we say we're going to. We show up and we do a better job in trying to care. I might not do a better job than another technician because I'm not a super tech. But if I don't know, I'm going to call tech support. And if I got to get to the 160-page manual to find it, I'm going to find it. And that's what's missing. So I don't need to be the cheapest game in town. Quite the opposite. I can charge a premium for my time because my people understand, my owners understand. 3 hours of Joe being on your roof is the equivalent of what used to be 5 hours of service company X being on your roof. Mm-hmm. And they see that and they see the video. I mean, I replaced a compressor for a brand new owner on a little reach-in. And I got it approved through the district person. And then I talked to the owner and he's like, oh, I don't like replacing compressors. I like to replace the whole condensing unit. It's just a little true reach in, right? I'm like, well, that makes sense, but your unit looked good. My price to replace the compressor was so different than his previous price to replace the compressor was not sane. I understand that my pricing is low. It wasn't even sane. And so to him, we'll spend a couple $100 extra and replace the condenser because that's what they purposefully made the gap so small that the upsell wasn't obvious, right? Just stupid numbers. I'm going to charge you $1,500 to replace that compressor. I'll charge you $18 to replace the condensing unit. Well, let's do the condensing unit then, And so when he got my bill for the compressor, he's like, oh yeah, that's a no brainer. If you can do the compressor at that price, let's do it. I mean, and I had already done it. So thankfully, and it was approved by, his number 2, but those are the stories that we run into where if you do things, and I made plenty of money on that job, right? I mean, it's not like, oh boy, we really undercut. I was fair to everyone, but I also didn't take 4.5 hours to change the compressor, even pulling a vacuum. How about that? So,
great, man. It's wild, dude. The difference. I mean,
it's super geographical because we have 40 plus techs, but we have guys, our office hours are 7:30 to 4. So anytime before or after that, it's going to be time and a half. But our, here in Florida, because of the accidents, it's $2,600. It's an average of $2,000 to $2,600 a month per vehicle for the leasing. That's that. Yeah. That's insurance. There's no way around it. Now, because we have so many technicians, we can have we can have 2 people on call at the same time every 5, 6, or 7 weeks. So there's a team on call. They share the calls, where they live, and they can help each other, or up system, one take turns. But, we are going to charge time and a half. It is what it is. Double time on the holidays, because that is appropriate for, I guess, our location and the environment that we're in, because of how Florida is. And you should know that from St. Pete, it's all jacked up. You just move here and they jack you up, if for no good reason. Like, you're guilty by association of just being here. But it's super expensive, the cost of living and everything, and the maintenance. So if you can get away with keeping it low, keep it low. My buddy owns his own HVAC business, and his thing, because I'd like to own one someday, he's like, do as much as you can by yourself as long as you can until you can't. And then you're going to start incurring costs, the wear and tear, the cost of tires, the oil changes, the liability, the accidents. People are going to want to tap your vehicle because you have a logo on the side and sue you. Also, Florida's big for suing. One good accident or somebody losing something could, hurt you guys, not you, but if it was your employee, as hell, they're going to want to do the workman's comp, or sue somebody. And there's just a lot of different variables that could happen out there. So, you're small, and that's great. And I applaud you trying to do the best you can feasibly for your customer and for yourself, to be fair for everyone. As you get bigger, you're a numbers guy. You're going to have to, the laws of physics, the laws of math, it's going to apply if you want to stay in business. If you're going to want to continue to serve the way you want to serve, you're going to have to make changes and whatnot. And if you have technicians that don't care about having a weekend, you said they're on every, once a month, I guess that's cool. I've been on call once a month at my previous job, or every 3 weeks. So it's an industry norm. I'm going to want to get paid better on the weekend, because it is what it is. I value my weekends, and it's a perk where, if you got great perks and great culture, I'm sure you can keep guys who are cool with that. If, getting a certain, whether you get paid, you work Monday through Friday and you get paid a certain rate, or if you take 2 days during the weekend and whatnot, it's all different. It's a newer generation. There's a lot more work than there is people, and you're going to have to get competitive. And again, that's based on your geography. You're here, we got guys that are here, and they'll jump from here. They'll jump to Rich's company. They'll jump to Pat's company. They'll just jump around for the dollar. And it's really hard to weed out the good actors from the bad, and at the same time, you can't really fault people for doing what they got to do. You don't know people's financial situation in their personal life and whatnot. So I was told, people, when you first get out of school, you might be hopping around. It's actually natural. You're going to go somewhere, start off at $18, $20 an hour. If you stay there, no one will ever pay you as much to keep you as they did to get you. So sometimes you got to give yourself a raise, and you might have to, the first 3 years, you might be at 3 different places after a year each. Once you get your experience in, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to ask for that money, and they're going to give it to you. And then you're going to settle in. So it's a big game to play,
Yeah.
That's a
living experiment. Yeah, no, but that's perfect. That what you described is exactly, it is a living experiment. That I'm undertaking to see, what can you do? Are you, like I said, we're not going to change the system, right? Burn it to the ground, start over. That's a nice idea. No, right? I mean, hundreds of thousands of technicians and the status quo, like, try and get traction on that. Hey guys, we're just you're going to work every Saturday now, but I mean, I came out of the furniture world, right? And guess what? You deliver furniture Tuesday through Saturday. So those guys are working Tuesday through Saturday. It's their status quo. And you know what? They love Mondays off. And so it's like, it's so funny, right? Same game. It's just what you're used to. And so anyone who was brought up in that world is like, I really miss, I did that for 10 years. I really missed not being off on Mondays when I went back to normal work. It's, you just get used to it. It's all about perspective.
So I come from the world of hospitality. I worked in restaurants. So I worked, my schedule was based on the need, and I almost never had the weekends off working in restaurants and hotels and hospitality. And then once I got into this, and I still do this, it's freaking Friday and I'm wrapping up my day. I'm like, happy Friday, everyone. And they're like, screw you, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you got to work the rest of the weekend. So it's a different, you know, when I graduated from hospitality, in my opinion, what I call graduation financially to this, and I got to work Monday through Friday and have off, you know, have nights and weekends, because I didn't, you know, my first two older daughters, I wasn't there for you know, for homework and things of that nature, them. And then I got into this field, and then my two younger daughters, I'm here, you know, nights, weekends, church, homework, going out and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's something I don't want to go back to. I love hospitality and I love the camaraderie and that lifestyle. And it's made me who I am, and my personality and how I do customer service and how I connect with people, you know. But it's two different worlds, you know. And I get if I'm open 24 hours a day, you guys should be open 24 hours a day. Yeah, we are open 24 hours a day, but we are going to charge you for it. And I get that, you know, I get that it's an experiment, like you said, and an evolution. And you know, it's based on where you are. It might that you might have the perfect storm and scenario and environment for what you're doing, and your customers are lucky for it. You know, they're very lucky for it. And I would try to sustain it as long as you can.
Amen.
Yep. So I got one quick question here. Lee Jesse Sinas asked, you have the customers that want you to be there ASAP and are willing to pay. What do you do when you're always 2 days out?
I'm guessing that's a question based on when I said I've got 15 texts, call me Thursday, I'll be there Sunday, right? That was just my hypothetical of saying if my dispatcher is scheduling Johnny's week and I'm looking at the things that I know can wait, then it doesn't hurt that part of Johnny's week is on Saturday or part of Johnny's week is on Sunday. So all I meant in that, it's a great question. And it's why I tried to respond down there. I've been terrified of growing too quick. I mean, I could have talked to an owner group in my area of Dairy Queens who's connected with like 60 DQs. And I already do work for half of them. And, you know, I think they love me. And so it was just a phone call and a text away. And I'm like, no, right? Because I'm still just one guy. And as much as I love you, you know, I've been married for 25 years. My kids are grown, but I like to be home too. You know, I like to be here on the homestead and do what I need to be done. And it's not always like, honey, I got to run and take care of this freezer. I got to go take care of that. And that's the healthy spin of, you know, I'm an equal, as I tell the owners, I'm an equal opportunity crisis responder, right? There are days when I'm supposed to come to your roof and pull your blower fan and clean that for you. And I got a call tonight that says, man, I got to go check out this cooler. I'm going to the cooler. And you're mad about that until you're the cooler, right? Yeah. And then when your cooler's down and I go, hey, you know what? I'm supposed to be going to install this condensing unit. I'll come by and get you taken care of. I need you to remember that. That's the healthy spin that we try to keep going. Like, I know you fit, some days you're the pigeon, some days you're the statue, right? That's the way it works. Like, I'm going to respond by need. And I need you to trust me to make that decision. And as long as I maintain that trust and they go, look, in the queue of what's important, I know if he's not here, somebody else was more important. And then the cool part is they can go to my YouTube video and go, oh yeah, no, look what he was doing before he got here. So what
do you do, Joe, for your customers? If you don't mind me asking, how, you know, you're a small business. How do you maintain your do you have, like, you keep up on anniversaries, or do you send them cards and follow up on it? How do you maintain your relationship so that they are understanding and they don't call somebody else, unless it's a complete lack of options? And I doubt that, but
it's not a lack of options, but it's not even anything that it is that personal and it's that intimate, but it's that it grew from a different place. Right. Okay. So my relationships with these guys weren't, it grew from a seed of saying, let me show you, right? Come look at my store, take a look, and now I got a service guy. I'm happy. Okay, no problem. And then one day it's like, I got a $4,000 quote for this. I remember Joe said, if I ever needed anything, would you come take a look for me? And I found a wire cut to a pressure switch. They didn't even pretend. Cut. Wow. So it's like, oh, that's fun. Hey, look at this video. And they're like, really? I'm like, they've changed compressors for us all over the place. Like, I bet they have, right? But it's my owners, and here's where the scale thing, where you've nailed this, and I'm not going to be able to keep it up under the system I built, right? So we've been growing the company. We have an administrative level that we didn't used to have, right? I used to fill out the paperwork, send the invoices, bother the customers for payment. Like, it was all me. That's dumb, right? For what you pay me to do things, you need me out turning the wrench and we can bring in another layer. But my owners have my number. They have my cell. And, and they're still will text me and be like, hey, what do you think about XYZ? And I'm like, you got to go through the channel, right? Like, I know it's where we started. I'm always here for you, right? But I mean, I know the owner's kids' names, right? That's what we do. I genuinely connect with the owners or the managers, right? I mean, what you need the managers on your side too, because your owner may love you. How often he's got eight locations. All it takes is 3 of them to go, that guy's always on his phone. He never seems like he's paying attention, right? Let 3 of your GMs tell your owner that. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, he seems like such a good guy. Really? You don't think he's a good guy? And then, like you've got to bring that handshake back. That's all it takes. It's not complicated. That's all it takes is a little personality and some genuineness, right? And to just go, I don't know. You know what they'll love to hear? I don't know. I'm not sure. And what I'm not going to do is guess and get this wrong at your expense. I need you to let me go make a phone call, right? I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to make sure. I'm pretty sure this is wrong. And I'm pretty sure it's this valve. But before I spend $300 and order a valve and come back again, let me make a phone call. That vulnerableness is a strength, right? And I only stumbled across it by being legitimately dumb, right? By going, I don't know, right? And I wasn't smart enough to hide it. And then I saw the response. Then I saw the response that people got and the connections we get. And now again, when 40 locations turns into 80, turns into 160, can I keep that up? It's a living experiment. But just keep plugging, man. We're going to do what we can. Like I said, I'm just going to try and change one store at a time. I did that with the 8 we owned. And then I had one owner who had 3 locations, and I did that for then, 11. I can handle 11. Okay. Can you handle 16? Maybe. Let's find out. Boom. Okay. I can handle 16. And we approached the point where the demand was too high, and it was like, okay, it's time to find an apprentice who's really the outside guy. I've got inside guys, and it's funny, Pat, that my son is also EPA certified. He was EPA certified at 16, and he's at UGA right now doing engineering, and, good on him. But man, I wish he was by my side still, right? Because it takes a certain person to be able to also put in front of a customer, right? Best technician in the world, if they can't express what they're doing, that's why Rich is like the unicorn. He's got the knowledge and he can express it. So people go, man, he knows what's up, as opposed to you're brilliant, but you're Rain Man. You just walk in and you're like, like, dude, he didn't even say goodbye, and that's what you get out here. You get, the kids lost in their phones, and, it's like, be here. I need you to be here. Anyway, that's our game, just connect, be real, and try and, just change one store at a time until we can't. And, when the house of cards comes crumbling down someday, hopefully I'm not underneath it. But I think we can keep up with it, as long as we can keep investing in the people. Fortunately, I have a structure that can support me, right? That was the first thing. Can this support me being an outside company and a vehicle and all those expenses that are just non-negotiable? Yeah, okay, it can. Can it now support having 2 people drive around for 6 months while you train them? Okay, we're there. Now, can it support bringing on another van and another person? And, so far there's been a lot of hurdles, but we found a way to jump them. And I don't have a reason to think my organization can't figure anything out. We have, our food provider during COVID called our owner and said, we're not delivering your food trucks anymore. Phone call on Sunday, you're not getting your food trucks anymore. What are we supposed to do? Crickets. Joe's got his DOT physical card. We rented a reefer truck, and 2 days a week we drove down to PFG. They loaded us up at 4 a.m. and we delivered our own food.
Joe,
because it was that or close the doors. And so, I was training a young man, and he was struggling just get a panel off. You couldn't get in there because the 90 wouldn't fit, nothing. And he's just like, I can't get this panel off. And I said, well, go tell the owner. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Tell him what? Tell him we're leaving. Tell him you can't get the panel off, and so we can't fix his freezer. And he looks at me like, what are you, crazy? I'm like, what are you telling me? We don't get to say I can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. We have to figure it out. We are Meadowbrook Solutions, right? That's why we are that name, because I saw Meadowbrook, the brand I worked for, solve horrific problems always. Like, find a way, man. Figure it out. So I think we'll continue finding a way of figuring it out.
That's great. Great culture. Great mission. Sure. It's in your name.
I'm still doing it. Just lost my camera. Timed out. See if it comes back.
Is this the longest show we've had so far?
Yeah, I think it is.
I never shut up.
No, this has been great.
We're gonna have to have a part 2 because there's plenty more to talk about, brother.
I agree with that. This has been great, bro.
Yeah, we definitely have to have part 2.
I love the perspectives.
This is probably the quietest the three of us have ever been at the same time. Just literally listening to what you're saying, bro. Like, it's good stuff.
Just reiterates the fact that I never shut up. So, but
no, you say good stuff, dude. Seriously,
everything you said has been with value.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you listening. And, if I can leave you with one thing, it's lockout, tag out, right? That's lockout, tag out, guys.
We'll get into that next time, man. We'll have you. So, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to shut this down. But Joe,
bring it home.
Plug anything you want to plug. If you don't want to plug anything, don't plug it. But you're free to tell everybody where to find you if they want to find you and follow your shenanigans or whatever you do out there on YouTube.
That's the word. I don't really. Again, I try to separate. I am Restaurant Repairs on YouTube, so you can follow me there and definitely see the shenanigans. Be nice, right? Be kind, and help me out, because again, that's why I do it. I do it so people can be like, "Oh man, that's awesome." I don't edit. When I misdiagnose and change a perfectly good control board, you saw it, man. I'm like, dang, but I feel like that's what we need to learn. So I don't edit stuff out. You'll see me blow stuff up. You'll see me get it right, get it wrong. And that's all I've got. Again, I'm on LinkedIn is where I met all you guys. And, Restaurant Repairs, I do during the day while I'm rolling, because I don't edit. iPhone just puts them together and publishes it. Mm-hmm. So, when you see a video rolling, that's what I did that morning. And the next one is like, it's an hour behind when I left most of the time because I don't edit anything out. So yeah, that's it, man.
Man, that'll make you conscious of the stuff you let fly, what you're saying. I'm like, oh, I said that. Take that out.
I play it through one time in the truck as I'm driving. I play it through and I listen to it because you'll hear people talking in the background and you're like, oh, that can't be in there. Or a copyright strike on some background music, which is find that video. It's humorous.
It gets you all the time, man. The background music will get you all the time. And it doesn't even have to catch the whole thing. It can catch like 3 or 4 beats and it'll get you going.
Yeah.
I'm like,
go to Restaurant Repairs. You don't have to like and subscribe. Go to Restaurant Repairs and find my Alicia Keys video. That's what it's called because that's what YouTube says it is. So I'm good at trolling. I was a little brother. So when they said Alicia Keys is taking my $2 for that video, I said, okay, this is an Alicia Keys video. And when YouTube says no, it's not, I can go, well, you said it was.
Nice. All right, guys, but we're going to wrap this up. I thank everybody for hanging out. This has been a great show. We're approaching an hour and 23 minutes. And I'm sure if we let Joe go, he'd probably go all night. So we will definitely have Joe back. I've learned a lot. Sure. It's definitely given me a lot of perspective that I didn't have before. And hopefully it's done the same for all of you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. So have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Take it easy.